Psychotechnologies live. Woo!
It's been a fairly intense weekend for me. Where are we? I don't even know what day of the week it
Tell
is.
us about
Wow,
it.
it was
Tell us
a
about
it was a kind of a longer weekend because there was a public holiday here. But yeah, uh, I was running, so I called in a teacher who I've been on retreat with previously, and we called this one a personal development intensive. And we called it that because he once called it a retreat, and he had a nice old couple come along who said this was not relaxing like a retreat. This was far too intense. And so he was like, "Oh, my bad. We're gonna have to improve the description, um, so that people know to expect a like hard and intense experience."
Can you
That's
imagine like a relaxing weekend and then you like show up and everyone's just doing all this crazy shit?
right. So it's kind of like it 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 it's close to like leadership development, like corporate development work, and but it's like got a slightly more spiritual bend. Um, and so it's like personal development, but it's the sort of thing that would appeal to uh, really growth minded people. But it because of the spiritual bend, it also leans like meditative, and so it would be easy to think this is a very relaxing meditative experience, and that's just not what it is. Um, it's more like a uh, intense and like amplified personal journey. Um, yeah, it's I find it really quite interesting how it's done to really make you feel like there's a lot going on in, and that's because there is. So I feel like I need to like draw the box, right? So you're in a room. We had 12 participants, and like myself and uh, the teacher. So his name is Jesse, running the container, um, and 12 people, and like very simple exercises. Like it's the kind of exercise like, okay, we have this space, 3 meters by 3 meters, and you're just gonna like walk around the space, right?
Oh, yeah, we did that on a Think Better. I
Right,
think some stuff in person.
right. And then what happened? Well, what?
It's so weird, actually, because it's just like walk around and then you get into people's personal space or near them or avoid them,
Right.
and you have no excuses because like it's like normally in life you're like going somewhere or doing something, and so you're like, oh sorry, like I'm entering your personal space because I need to get by or whatever. But like here it's just you're just walking around and
Mm,
like every like whatever your unconscious like or conscious whatever like decisions on how close you get to people or how you interact with them or what kind of eye contact you make, and like you're like kind of naked in a way.
mm. Right. So I would call it like there's a fertile ground to literally just walk around with a group, like wander around this space, and then you do that for a minute, whatever, like very simple exercise, and then we just ask the question, maybe like, what did you notice about walking around? And with just like maybe that much, maybe a couple other prompts, someone will be like, wow, I noticed that I'm avoiding, like I'm a small person and everyone else is taller than me, and so
Hmm.
I'm like worried about being getting in people's way,
Hmm.
and that's just
Like
like
getting stepped on or something.
right. And so I'm walking slow, or I'm like kind of sticking to the edge of the group so that I don't get stepped on.
Mhm.
And it's like it's very hard to describe because the exercise is nothing. The exercise is let's walk around, but the transformation that is possible upon realizing that, wow, I do this all the time. I do this in my everyday life, that I don't like like there's some other guy who's like storming through the middle of the group because no one gets in his way because he's like a nice, fit, healthy, like middle of the prime of his life, like masculine guy. He's just walking through, like I feel quite powerful walking around the group, and then in contrast you have this like small petite Asian female who's like, oh, I realize how much I am aware of other people and where they're going so that I don't get stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can invite those reflections and we can learn about ourselves just from a very simple fertile ground. And then we do that for like 8 hours.
Oh shit.
Right.
Oh fuck. Like
and so I just did 3 days of this, and I'm lucky. I feel very lucky that I was, as the host, I'm a little bit less in it because I'm doing things like making sure that lunch is ready and like at the same time as being there. So I have a little bit of an excuse, but I'm also like the thing that I really like about this container and how it's run is that the facilitators are in the container too. Like it's very easy for a like coach leader type person to be like, I'm going to stand at the front and tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But
I want
it's
to
a
see
lot.
you do it. You're going to make me do shit. I want to see you do it.
Right. And this was so the first retreat of this I went on was about 4 years ago. And it was clear to me how much the person running it. So again, I think that time there was 11 people in the room and 2 organizers. And that time it was incredible because I was so used to like teachers. Like if you think of your school teacher, they're teaching you the math. They're not doing the math with you so much. They're teaching you the English. They're kind of outside giving you the stuff.
No, I think my math teachers growing up, like they did it with us.
Okay.
Like I don't know how you teach math without doing it.
Well, you like sort of write it on the board or something.
Yeah, like you do it on the board or you'll do it a couple times and then pass it off. Yeah, you got to demonstrate that.
Right. A little bit.
English, I think they didn't really do that.
Right.
Like we see our teachers craft prose, which I think is, although I did listen to Brandon Sanderson like explaining it, and then they did have exercises and the teacher did do the exercises. It's awesome online lectures. And like that was actually like hugely yeah, like that, like seeing the person that's trying to teach you the stuff and seeing them doing it, and it's like it's how we learn as humans, I think.
Right. So my favorite part of this container, and it happens sort of like every time, is that eventually someone challenges the leaders, and the leaders get to demonstrate like not rejecting a challenge, like not like shutting it down, which is the classic leadership thing, but like, no, I'm the boss. And I really appreciate having that demonstrated for me. They're like, oh, like, shit, say more. Like, okay, I get it. You don't like me. Great. Say it again. You don't like me. Amazing. I'm so glad you could tell me that. It's very powerful.
Yeah. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's like so welcome in the space. So like that experience. Anyway, whole day of transformative stuff like this.
That's great.
And it's not just you, it's like it's other people too. And you see someone else notice something and you're like, oh my God, they also had a childhood. Oh my God, they also had struggles just like me. Oh my God, they also had a family relationship that was like they felt trapped in. Like, wow.
Like that feeling when it hits is like it's intense.
Right.
It's like your whole life is existing in someone else. And now there's 2 of you.
Right. And now I'm not so alone because there's 2 of me. There's 2 people who have had a shared experience, similar struggle in the world.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
I think I find it really cool when it's like someone who's had very different experiences than me, but somehow they're still the same. You know what I mean? Like there's certain ways in which they're the same, but then like the circumstances are all just like the physical circumstances are just very different from like my experience. And I think we tend to blame our inner traumas or whatever on like physical things when it's actually these like more abstract patterns.
So it's been, I would say I'm tired, but the weirdest thing is I'm not. I'm like, feel a bit surprised that I'm not more tired.
Tell us more.
Yeah, so I've been having an interesting phenomena around tiredness this week because there's a like up regulating, like a like wakefulness quality to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a like down quality to experience, like a tiredness, like everything feels a bit heavy and everything feels like I'm in pain and it's aching and it's a bit like annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And this week the down one isn't there. The up one is. Like I'm generally excited about existence and life and doing stuff, but my like down isn't there. And it's confusing because I wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just awake. Like nothing's like, I'm still tired, I want to go back to sleep. That's just missing. And so I'm having to like decide, how awake do I feel? Do I feel like I need more sleep or am I fine to be awake?
Oh shit. So like you've got this like wokeness from I guess from the retreat, and then now you're having trouble gauging your level of sleep needs because sleep also, like having sleeping a good night keeps you awake the next day, and that's
Right.
I guess how we monitor sleep, how much like sleep we need is how tired are we. But if you're really energized from this trip, I think for me it starts to split. Like there starts to be different kinds or qualities of awakeness. Like there's sort of a fundamental, like it becomes more like a category or a class of things.
Say more. What do you mean by a class of things?
Well, there's like wake, like if you take a lot of caffeine, you're awake.
Right. And it's got like a jittery to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate that one. I don't do that. I don't do caffeine. Stay away from drugs, kids. And then there's like getting a really good night's sleep. Like wakefulness, where you're like, I'm awake because I don't need sleep.
And then there's like missing a night of sleep, wakefulness. And it's like, I have adrenaline and I'm awake.
Yeah, there's the adrenaline wakeness. I got a lot of that when my kid was born.
Right.
And that one was really interesting because I would be really tired, and like my consciousness would be like small, but it would be like going, like I wouldn't be falling apart.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Really like builds character.
Yeah. Well, so this is like just one detail that I had this week is noticing this thing with feeling awake or feeling tired. And like I feel generally good, but slightly confused. Like, where is my usual, like I'm a little tired or I'm a little wanting to down.
And you're like missing that like negativity in your life.
Well, yes. but it's more like this is a welcome lack of negative phenomena, and also like I'm usually like balanced, like I have up positive and negative to like even me out,
but now everything feels good and so it feels wrong.
I would say that like yes, my experience of the last few days, everything has felt better in a good way, like better than it usually does. It's been kind of nice. But go ahead.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like perfect.
Yeah, like I'm having a good time. And like I was running this retreat. I was running around getting the food, making sure everyone arrived on time, like giving people a lift from a train station, like all of the little details that I needed to organize, I was organizing. This is an interesting experience as well in running this retreat. Every task that I have done to put the retreat together has been a little task. Like I had to find a caterer, and I had to ask people if they wanted to come along, and I had to like ask 20 people if they wanted to come along, and I had to follow up with a couple of people, and I had to like, these are all tiny little tasks, and individually every single one of those has been incredibly easy. As a bunch, there's just been a lot of them. So, but because every single task has been so easy, none of them felt like a hard task. They all just felt like little easy things. So that's kind of been surprising me as well, that all these little easy tasks, there's just a lot of them, and I can be okay with that, but there's a lot of them.
And does that tire you out a little bit? Or like, what effect does that have on you?
It starts to lean into a little bit of like overwhelm, or like, I think part of me not sleeping as much is waking up and being like, there's so many tasks to, like, there's many tasks to do, but also me going, oh, but they're all really easy.
So it's like an initial kind of overwhelm until you analyze it.
There's a little bit of, I'm surprised, because overwhelm is an interesting mental phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
So what will be happening internally is that there will be a lot of information coming in, like a lot of bright lights, or a lot of people are paying attention to me. And then my something in my brain says, this is overwhelming. And then I feel like overwhelm bad, like the phenomena of overwhelm bad. But the phenomena of overwhelm bad is just another mental phenomena. It's like, it tries to say I'm like different to the other mental phenomena, but actually it's the same. So now I just have a couple of bright lights on me and a couple of people looking at me and the mental phenomena of overwhelm together. And like something in my head is like saying, this is
okay. I see where you're at. Yeah.
So it's super interesting too.
For the mind experiencing these things.
Right. The like shifting the container. So overwhelm no longer tells me I'm like, no longer like tells me I have to quit doing things. It's just another one of the things that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Turns out I can handle a lot of bits of me saying I'm overwhelmed.
Nice. That's resilience, and that is good stuff.
Well, like there is a truth in the overwhelm that I'm paying attention to a lot of things, but it's not impossible to do. It's just there's a lot of things, and maybe life would be easier. And part of me is kind of worried about dropping things. Like if you're keeping track of 3 things, you're cooking 3 pots on the stove, you can manage that. If you're cooking 20 pots on different stoves, like you might burn one because you're watching the other 19.
Yeah, there's a limited capacity of how many things you can do at the same time.
Right. So there is some truth to the overwhelm thing, that if there are too many things that I am watching, I do start to get worried that I'm not going to be able to watch them all.
Yeah.
But overwhelm is just that. It's that signal. It's not the like, we have to time out, we have to stop these things. It's actually more like that, like warning, we're at our limit of what we can manage here.
Yeah. I like to keep my eye on overwhelm, because if it gets too little or too much, if it gets too little, then I'm just not doing anything.
Well, if it's too little, it's like I'm bored. Or like if it's on the 0 overwhelm or 0 like occupation, almost. Like
yeah.
I'm on the side of this is boring and I'm uninterested and I'm gonna like find something else to do because this is not interesting enough.
Yeah.
Like if you're watching a slow movie, you're like, oh
yeah.
There's
some slow. Good shows that are just too slow.
Right. So it's like, I want more of it. How do I like turn up but obviously we're not so good at modulating our own experience to like turn up so that I get more, like I start watching YouTube videos in double time so that I can get more of it.
Yeah.
But then I also miss bits. So like, it's like, I want to listen to the guided meditation, right? But it's so slow that I want to speed it up. But when I speed it up, I don't get the nuance in it. And so I can't speed it up. And it's like, battle in me.
Yeah, I do find with the guided meditations is that like I tend to just like drift off.
Mm.
But like there's suggest like it's like kind of like suggestions, and then it winds up being the meditation's just like kind of talking to my unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And so I'm like biased towards like whatever they're doing.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it seems like a happy medium.
Mm.
Or I'm listening to it to like see what they're doing so that I could do it or copy it. Or
Mm.
like just I also see meditations as like a discussion as well. Like someone's like, here's a meditation, which is like essentially them saying, here is something that I think you should experience. And so I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, sometimes I think of the word meditation as the like to reflect on meaning of the word meditate.
Mm.
Like you might meditate on like a poem or something. Like I'm going to reflect on and like abide with. Maybe that's a nice translation. Like I'm gonna go like dwell in with the poem, as opposed to like I'm going to like strongly stare at the poem. I'm just going to like dwell with the like. You can meditate on. I'm trying to find an example that is less like a guided meditation and is more like a just gonna hang out with my grandma.
Yeah. Like a do nothing meditation where
Hmm.
you just sit there and
Maybe
you're just
like sitting in
watching.
the park with pigeons. Right. It's not
Mm.
really a like meditate, but it's a
It's like
I'm
a
going to
Zen.
dwell in with the experience of sitting in the park with the pigeons without
Yeah.
without trying hard to straight spine meditate or follow my breath or anything. It's just I'm going to experience what it's like to sit in the park with pigeons.
Yeah.
Hmm. So there was one of my most interesting moments that has left me with something to kind of think about from it happened 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Oh my gosh. Time on one of the days of the retreat. Uh it was a bit of an exercise to move in a kind of free and unhindered way. Just do what you like, sort of as like a movement exercise, like kind of dance, kind of movement, kind of like stomp around, like you're very powerful, just do whatever you like style. And I was participating as well as managing, and people in this exercise jumped up on a table to like do the thing, and they like there was some like snacks, like some grapes, and so some of them got thrown across the room, um and I went, oh no, I can't participate because I have to be like cleaning up and making sure someone doesn't step on that and knock a glass off a table or something. But it was really interesting to watch myself have this like split between I do have a job, but I also like I can't let go. Like and that this is very true for my life. I don't have a free and unencumbered experience of just let go and dive into like do what you like sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And noticing that this is my pattern, this is my tendency. I take the management role over the letting go and be free role, like any day, every day. Like if something's urgent, important, if I can convince myself that something is urgent, important, like no, someone's got to be watching, making sure that nothing goes wrong here. I'll take that role before I'll do the like free, unencumbered muck around role. But it means that I never get the free, unencumbered experience, or like I block myself. Like I don't feel the way I kind of have settled on describing it is I don't feel safe to let go. Like no one else is taking care of things, so I don't feel safe to let go. Which is like, oof, ow, and like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to work on this. I'm gonna have to find some more safety somewhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's some of my pain. This that I have uncovered some pain from this retreat.
Mm. Yeah, this
As it
is a
is,
familiar
like
thing.
as it is, like someone threw a grape up across the room. It was nothing. Like there was a glass on the table that someone nearly bumped into, but like even if it had broken, it would have been a broken glass. Not ideal, but a broken glass. They didn't, and I had gone to go grab it and like take it out away from the people dancing, but I felt the thing in me that went, "Oh no, this is my pattern. I miss out on the participatory because I'm too busy organizing."
That's yeah, that's really like it's really nice that like you're finding it in a way that I imagine it's like somewhat gentle or like it's like a realization because it's not someone sort of telling you or yelling at you. It's something you're realizing on your own.
That's right. That's kind of part of it. Like
Yeah.
and this is probably like these are start to be things that I'm learning about myself. I struggle to get messages like someone else will tell me, like who have probably tried to tell me that thing. It seems like you can't let go because you're too busy being the manager. And I would have gone like, nah, like whatever. And
Nah, I'm in
and
charge.
then
Go away.
nah, look, like someone's got to be in charge. I would have made some excuse, like someone's got to be in charge. Like, it
Yeah.
might as well be me. It's still important to do, but I would have missed the thing. I would have missed the lesson that I am in fact missing out, or there is some part of me that would like to free access to like, and I'm not necessarily going to do it all the time, but it's like there's a book, uh, the Artist's Way, and in it it's about like recovering your artistic sense, and it's like recover uh your inner imagination, recover your inner creativity, recover your inner like self amuser, like recover various inner parts of you. And this is like I need to recover my inner sense of I do what I want because I feel like it.
I do what I want.
Yeah, right. But it's like it's lacking in me. It's like a little bit tragic, but
Mm.
lacking in me.
Do you think this is like a childhood thing?
Yes, the short answer is yes. Or like it's not just child. It's like the shape of my family growing up.
Uh-huh.
That I worked out what was or wasn't safe and shut off certain things because I needed to. Hmm.
Want to explore it?
Oh man, so painful. Um, it's tricky because it's personal stuff. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's always tricky. I can
That's why I
try.
asked. I'm just
I'm willing to explore with a few caveats. One is that I'm limited about how much I can talk about the other people because
yeah.
that's their stuff. Also, they've grown up. Everyone's grown up now, and so it's different now. So that's one caveat. And another caveat is I have a bad habit of blocking myself from seeing what's going on or what's happened because I kind of like I've done the movement where I put it all in the past and forgot about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm happy to look, uh, but I don't know where we'll get.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do you have a particular question that you wanted to ask?
Sure. I'm curious what age you would say this.
Oh, yeah, nice. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so I'd like turn my attention to inside my body, and I like do like a height thing, like is it here? Is it here? Is it here? And it's like it feels like on my spine, like there's like I'm paying attention to what feels like a block, like a hard thing. Now I know my body is filled with the regular human stuff like organs and bones, but there's like extra hard bits in places. And so there's a spot like as I pay attention, moving down my attention down my body, there's a spot where like an extra bit of hard stuff is there, and then so like I'd put it, I think between 8 and 3, something around there. And part of that, it probably went further, but I've done other work on very early stuff and on later stuff. But right now, it's like there's this time window of stuff in my life that I'm, at least for now, like in this moment, I'm tuned into as being the blocking experience, blocking my free expression of myself or something.
Mm-hmm. You said you felt it on your spine, and that gave you an estimation on age.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing? I'm not aware of this.
Oh yeah, sort of the location. It's a bit of a heuristic because our bodies are sort of doing everything all the time, but up here in the chakra system, I'm going to drop into a model for a moment. In the chakra system, this one's the third eye, right? And the third eye, it's like between the eyes. It's the like spot there-ish, or depending on, or maybe it's like inside, depending on which tradition. Somewhere around there is the thing that's called the third eye, and that's like commonly known as giving you foresight or future vision, or like sometimes quite literally future visions, but sometimes more like metaphorically, like being insightful is a brain thing. Like, yeah, obviously.
So like metaculus users, that's what they're practicing.
Yeah, the like thinky thing.
Yeah.
And then if you go down the body to the bottom chakra is called the root chakra, and it's located sort of between the legs, and it is more associated with your roots, your past, your history. This came out of a book called Eastern Body, Western Mind, and it proposed that the chakra system is also a timeline of your life. And so if you're trying to like, it's important to hold models lightly, but as a heuristic for diagnosis, treating the body like a timeline is kind of useful. For like if you have gut stuff, what happened under the age of 5? If you have a breathing problem, like what happened in this period of your life?
Yeah, that's again, that's reminding me of like Freud psychology of like, yeah, psychosexual development.
Right. Right. So this broad brushstroke model, I talked about it in like episode 4 of like
anatomy stuff. Yeah, it is. I after hearing myself say that, I'm like, oh, I've said this before on stream. So we must have talked about this before.
Right. So
but I was interested more like in this, I guess, the spine specifically. So like, would you say like thoracic spine is
so
like
there's a proposal that sort of if you have the stuff in front of you or on the front of your body, it's stuff that you're dealing with now, whereas if you're carrying it more like in your back, it's stuff from the past that's kind of behind you but still like heavy on you.
Yeah, that feels right.
Which is, it's carrying
around the weight of the world on your shoulders, or
the weight of your past, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like if you're carrying something, it's something that came from the past. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to carry it. You can't carry future stuff.
Well, you can feel like obligated to do stuff in the future.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not like heavy on you. It's in front of you, complex that you're dealing with, and
I did
could be overwhelming.
Back thing, but like I'm overwhelmed by how much there is in front of me. The fire is very hot, and it's in my face.
Yeah, and I guess like avoidance could come into that as well. Like it's just too much here. I need to fuck off for a while.
Right. So the spine, I want to be very cautious about like literal maps, because I know enough anatomy to be like, that's just bones, right? The spine. But what I'm talking about is interior space. So if I were to cut open bits of my body from the outside, I'd find the bone in there, right? Obviously, if I did it from the outside, if I cut it open, I'd just find it. But as I feel on the inside, I don't actually feel a bone there. I feel like a kind of a hard thing. I feel like a heavy thing, maybe. Like there's a different interior landscape to the exterior landscape, and
Your inner experience of your arm is not the same as like the physical.
outer experience.
Yeah.
Right. And like even if I do like a externalized, like I'm limited in a finite way by my nervous system and the various sensing organs.
Yeah. So closer to your actual experience versus your physical body.
Right.
Much more like external, I guess.
Right. So when I say the spine, I'm talking about the internal landscape space in my back. And
okay.
As I pass my attention around and nearby it, I get to know sort of the habitual ways that I hold stuff, particularly like discomforts in the body. We sort of anyone who's had an injury for a very long time, like a injured shoulder or like a stomach ache that comes and goes, or like one I have is a breathing pattern that sort of retains more fluid in my lungs, and there's some way in which I am being in the world that is habitually causing me strife. And if that's a like shitty posture, like if I'm every time I'm at the computer I'm hunched, then that's a way in which I am being in the world in the very simple sense of like, here's how I carry my body when I sit at the computer, that is over the long term causing me pain or strife, right? Hunched shoulders. And the phrase way of being in the world kind of stretches all the way from like just how I hold where I put my hands, like my hands up in the air, this is a way of being in the world, all the way to the mental posture of there's a reason, there's something I'm trying to show when I wave my hand like this, that I'm trying to emphasize with the hand movement. And that's the mental posture behind it. And there's a like full continuum from physically forming a posture to mentally forming a posture. It's kind of the same thing, but obviously the mental posture, like I can be suspicious of you and like squint my eyes, or I can be suspicious without squinting my eyes. Like there's a way in which I can do it mentally that it has a lot less body in it.
Yeah, like sometimes like the thing in your head and the thing that your body is doing are not the same. It's like a disconnect.
Right.
For sure. And like this happens. Like I know people that have like they make weird facial expressions, just like not necessarily reflective of what they're thinking. And then I think like on like the autism kind of stuff has the opposite, where you'll have like people who are more on the spectrum will like could be experiencing crazy shit and they're just not like physically reacting.
Well, I would say something like it's hard to read from the outside.
Sure.
Like they're scared or they're overwhelmed, but they're not displaying it on their body so much. Autism has the like overwhelm thing a lot.
Yeah, or people that like grew up in certain environments where their outward stuff would have been more regulated, I guess, than the inner stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So
but there definitely is a connection between the two. Yeah.
So it's useful for me to look at this continuum all the way from physical posture to like mental posture, because our mental postures are also screwing us up, but in like much finer ways. Like imagine if you were slightly more fearful than someone else. And so your heart rate was just a little bit higher all the time. And so your blood was moving a little bit faster.
Yeah, a little more
So
cortisol
a
system.
little bit more cortisol. And so you just got a little bit more distracted than another person because you got a little bit of fear. You're like, what was that? Like you hear a noise and they're like, someone else might just hear
Yeah,
this, but you're going like, what was that? Constantly.
yeah, like on edge.
Right. And that,
Yeah,
imagine 5% more fear could put
yeah,
you
I know. Yeah,
that
I've
like
had.
that could like end up looking like ADHD, like you're distracted all the time.
Yeah.
It could. It could.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get into that because I actually don't know the testing for ADD.
It's kind of more complicated when you get into like
But like to the lay person
diagnoses.
could definitely look the same. Yeah.
When you get into diagnoses, it's a bit more complicated because there is
Yeah.
a fairly strict criteria. But if you're looking at the cluster of symptoms, like someone who is distractible, like there are so many things that could cause distraction. If you have a stomach ache today,
I could grab the DSM and we could look it up. The new DSM, by the way.
oh,
It's
number
five.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a I have a difficulty balancing the interior and the exterior. So there's the interior phenomena of getting distracted, and there's the exterior phenomena of I can't get anything done, right? Classic ADHD. I can't get anything done. Or
Sure.
like, and there are many different interior experiences that can cause I can't get anything done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you could be in pain and then you can't
Right.
do the thing.
You could just be tired. You can't do
You
the
could
thing.
not want to do that. You could
You could
hate
not
it.
want to do the thing. Yeah, absolutely. You could just want to do other things instead of the thing and not be able to do the thing.
Yeah.
You can be scared of the thing and not want to do the thing.
Yeah.
Right. So
You could not know how to do it.
right. And then you're also like you're scared of doing the thing because you don't know how to do it, or you're embarrassed about doing the thing. Like there's so much that could be interiorly shaped to cause this external phenomena of you don't want to do the thing.
Yeah.
And it's very hard because it's handy to have a external verified cluster that we can be like, hey, you've got this external phenomena, you've got this ADHD. Like here's
Yeah.
how we've helped the other people who had this ADHD thing. Does any of these help you? Like that's really nice to have. And also it's so difficult because there's so many different versions of the internal experience that can be causing your ADHD, or I don't even know if Daniel has ADHD. Your
I
ADHD.
don't know if I do anymore. I definitely did when I was a kid.
Nice.
But I mean, I guess I don't know.
Did something change for you that changed whether you sense you have ADHD?
Yeah, I mean all this stuff like all the psychotech, like
Was there
like
a
I'm just
specific one?
calm all the
Was there a specific piece?
yeah, like the path, like whatever, like
Spiritual,
enlightenment,
long spiritual journey.
whatever.
Okay.
Like whatever, like becoming an arhat or whatever, or Buddha or whatever. Because I'm just calm all the time. And so it's like easier to like it's just easier to make decisions, and the decisions I make are also much more powerful, right? So it's like I much more tend to do the things that I want to do and that are important, like that I'm aligned with.
Hmm.
And so there's just less, like other things just fade more. It's like kind of like in the movies, like when they like show like the girl shows up and then everything in the background fades.
Hmm.
It's like more like that because just the same, but a lot of it's like paying attention to the salient landscape. And then there was a lot of like kind of waiting until it organized in a way that I would make this like that the decisions would be correct.
Hmm.
And then that just got faster and faster.
Yeah, I have.
I'm not saying I'm cured or anything, but It's way less bad.
I have the experience of sort of becoming more stubborn. Like
It's interesting.
it feels like it's a lot harder to move me. And so I don't get distracted so easily because I'm hard to move. But then when I do decide to start a project, it's also very hard for me to stop. Like I'm not going to quit, which is kind of nice too.
Yeah, you have more like momentum or mass.
Right. So it's like I've become a bigger boat. And so instead of like a sailboat that can move in the wind, I'm like a bigger ship. And when I decide to move, all of me moves in a good way, but also
Also a little slower and
also it's hard for me to change direction.
yeah. I like that phenomenon.
You prefer to be a slow moving big ship than a small,
like experientially in my life, like, yeah, this is kind of what I want right now. Not kind of like, this is actually what I want. I'm just embarrassed to say this because it's not agile.
right. Well, I was about to say I kind of want both. I want the agile thing and I want the big powerful thing. But actually maybe I don't want that, because like I can imagine like a small sail ship, like a jet ski, right? I can move very quickly through the water. I can get from here to there, but I don't create many waves when I do it, right?
Oh,
Or like I make some waves, but they're small. And
yeah.
whereas a big ship, it kind of it moves very slowly, because if it moves too quick, it does make really big waves, right? So it moves very slowly and it gets from here to there, but all of me gets there.
Yeah.
But if I had the speed of a jet ski in a big ship, I would create this like churn in the water. Like there'd be this huge,
Yeah.
accidentally
I'd
cause
crash.
tidal waves, which is like, maybe that's a metaphor for if I suddenly completely changed my character, the people around me would have this like massive whiplash because I'd be like shoving giant like tidal waves on them.
Yeah, I have that fear as well. Yeah, because like you don't want to like crush things. Like there are swimmers around and you can't just turn into a ship. Like you can't just be jet skiing and then like now you're an ocean liner because you're in the wrong spot.
Right. Although there is other metaphors, like you can think of like an avalanche, like you can be the start of, like you can be the fast moving jet ski that starts the avalanche.
And the same thing still goes. You still have to watch it
with you.
that there's no village at the bottom of the
Right. Yeah.
and there's no skiers on the mountain and like just that's what I find, like to do these like monumental shifts in society or in your life or whatever, like there's going to be collateral damage if you're not careful.
Right. I don't know. Did you ever have? I never had that, but people around me did when I was in sort of high school age. Suddenly, like a friend just like dropped out of existence. Like, I don't like you anymore. Goodbye. Like it's fine if a 2-year-old
grown up, yeah,
but like it never happened to me. I think it happened to some of my siblings.
I was more that guy than
that you dropped out, or
yeah, I dropped out of some stuff.
Like there's a way to do it where you're like, hey, thanks, I'm gonna head off, bye. And there's a way to do it like mic drop, like suddenly there's a hole here.
Yeah, there was some stuff and stuff went down. We don't need to rehash. But yeah, like it was just like I was like, no, I'm not. This is not no. Like that was it.
Right. So,
but that would have been like when I was like at that time, like in those environments, and I didn't have like good emotional. I wouldn't say not good emotional regulation, but it wasn't like we didn't grow up in a place where communicating your feelings was normal.
Right. Yeah, that's I get it.
Yeah, like sharing your feelings was gay and being gay was bad.
Right, back in the days when gay was an unaccepted phenomena as well.
Unless you were actually gay, then it was okay. But if you were a straight guy, talk about your feelings.
So I mean, this is an interesting thing about the shape of the world, that kind of feels fascinating and strange to me is that when I was in sort of middle of high school, it was not acceptable in society to be openly gay. It just, you were like closed gay or like private gay or sort of kept it to yourself style. And it wasn't acceptable to be like today. It seems like people are just are. And that changed. So, and you know, I was talking to someone who grew up in the 70s and they were like, oh, it used to be illegal to be gay as well.
Yeah.
Like it was actually against the law if you got caught.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I wasn't around for that, but
yeah. Right. I wasn't alive then. So to think that we went from there to like gay is so accepted and normal that it's boring today is like incredible. like if for anyone younger than me, they may have like gay was already in and fine, maybe like that this is the shape of the world, it's fine to be gay, it's just ordinary. But anyone older than me also remembers a world in which it wasn't. Like that's a huge shift.
Yeah, that is a pretty crazy couple
like I've just kind of forgotten about it because it's so ordinary now.
Yeah, and it's one that does make sense, I think. Like societal level. I know there are some arguments against it, but
well, I'd also ask, is there like a hormone thing going on? Like, did we have too many phytoestrogens in the plastics or something?
Yeah, you made that argument about something else as well in a different discussion, like because like there's like all these plastics and stuff in our body,
right?
And like that's like a real phenomenon,
right?
Right? That might actually be affecting us.
I have no problem. People can be gay, people can be not gay, whatever. But
yeah,
if it is a phenomena that is partially caused by plastics, maybe we want to sort that one out.
Yeah, I have no idea how any of that works.
So the broad brushstroke is that some of the molecules in soybeans are very
like I know what you're saying. Yeah, so they have more estrogen. That's why they're called soy boys.
Yes.
And then there are also like lots of hormones in our water supply.
Right.
So probably not in our drinking supply.
It depends on where you are in terms of distance from farmland, and depends on your country's regulations as to whether they are pumping up hormones into animals. But with certain animals like cows, we've bred them to produce more milk. And as a consequence, we bred them to have more hormones in their bodies so that they can stay milk producing for longer periods of time. And we're not giving them hormones. They just have a naturally higher level of hormones that we bred into them.
Right. And does that matter? I don't even know.
Right.
Does that cross the stomach blood barrier?
Well, yeah, the into the breast tissue to make the milk, or like from the stomach.
No, but also from us, right? Like is there like their meat, like is their muscle have more hormone, and then if we eat that muscle, does that survive our digestive process? And if it does does it affect us? And like I think the biology is complex enough that I don't know it.
Well, there is something going on where the world is more sensitive now. Like when I was a child, vegetarianism was a bit more uncommon, and food sensitivities were a bit more uncommon. And nowadays, I don't know about Canada, but we have something called A2 milk here. Have you heard of that? So
our milk is, I'm in Ontario, so our milk is like heavily regulated for no reason.
So right now, as it stands, when I was a kid, there was like normal milk, and then there was low fat, and then there was no fat, and then there was like soy milk, right? That was the spread. And then there was like, I guess, coconut milk, but it was a lot more like coconut, or like fresh coconut. And then there's a milk called like A2. There's a protein called the A2 protein, which is in dairy, but some people are allergic to it or can't tolerate it. And so now we have normal milk, A2 milk, that doesn't have the A2 protein in it. Um,
Yeah, I've never heard of that. We have lactose-free milk here,
and we also have lactose-free milk. Yes,
which is crazy.
and
Like
we
they
also,
use bacteria to break down the lactose into its
huh,
component parts.
I didn't know that. I didn't know how they do that. I figured they just sort of filtered the lactose into other like.
No, they break it down. So it's lactose is like a complex sugar, and so they break it
Oh,
down.
and they break it down into
Disaccharide, I believe, if I remember correctly. So they
right.
break it down into two monosaccharides. I
Oh,
think I could be wrong on that, but
something like that. Okay, interesting. So nowadays we also have like coconut milk and almond milk, and we have macadamia milk, but like oat milk. There's as well as soy milk, rice milk.
I like these things aren't really milk. Like they're
Right,
just
but they're like milk type category substitutes.
yeah, they're like milk substitutes. Yeah,
Right. Like sometimes you get the like soy drink rather than soy milk.
like even skim milk is pushing it. Like, is that real milk?
Right. So skim milk is one of the low fat milks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get
skim milk.
like 1%,
Right.
1%.
But so
It's
we've
just flavored water.
right. So people nowadays, it seems like people are much more sensitive. People are dividing their food up. They're like, oh, I can't have this type of nut. I can't have. Someone told me recently
The allergy stuff was they were given bad advice. Last generation or 2 generations ago, they were given bad advice, which is why we have so many.
like they were told to avoid allergic foods rather
They were
than
told that like don't feed your kids anything that could have allergens in it, and then the kids didn't
develop
like
like intolerances.
yeah, Israel is very much like one of these places where they feed all their kids like bamba, which is like a peanut snack, and they have very little nut allergies.
Yeah.
And some might say that it's because they don't survive and stuff, but I think the science is much more like to feed your kid things with allergens.
Right.
So like now my kid is he's like 7 months, and so we just find all the allergens and feed it to him.
Right. So I have a sense that the world is more sensitive than before. Food is one way in which we're sensitive, including like the example of the various types of milk, but also like more vegetarianism, I suspect, is because we care about animals more now than we did before.
Is this true? I've heard that like veganism has been 2% or something for like hundreds of years. It's just
I would imagine it's higher than 2% now. You can check.
I don't know, because it's like I think it's hard to find out.
The
But
the first result on Google says 6%.
oh,
Up from 1%, up from 1% in 2014.
well, good job, vegetarians. More meat for me.
Right. There's the whole nother conversation about like integrated rather than. I don't think veganism long term is very healthy, but like meat reduced seems better for the environment anyway. I have this fascinating phenomena that if I eat, and I found this out by going a little bit carnivore for a bit, if I eat only meat or too much meat for a couple of days, or even nowadays it's like 3 meals in a row, the meat starts to taste rancid. Like like my body starts to say, we don't need more of that. This is bad. And there's nothing wrong with the meat because I can smell it. It smells fine, but there's something in the taste that starts telling me like, stop eating this, which is super interesting.
That's so interesting.
Right. And I'm trying to like get into listening to my body. And so I do stop eating, sort of thing.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know that I've ever had that. I've had that if like the meat is in the fridge too long and I've been eating it all week. But like it kind of is started like I get I guess more sensitive to it going off. Damn, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, fascinating. But yeah, I think that our whole society is becoming more sensitive. Call it a like consciousness revolution or something ridiculous. We're all getting more sensitive to the world. and to each other.
Yeah, I have a different explanation for this.
Yeah,
Though I don't want to discount yours because like
it's a theory. I can't quite explain why, other than it seems good to be more sensitive. Like we start to notice things more and we start to work things out more.
yeah, we do work things out more. I think, and like communication and sensitivity and stuff. Like even if you're like looking at like movies, TV shows from today, from the old days, like even like a lot, some of that is like Hollywood wokeism, but if you're looking even off the stuff that's like not part of that, like I think it still is like the human interaction stuff is much more like community feelings and things like that.
Mhm.
And I think it's because like technology, like the way the technology with the social media and all the other globalizations, the like the network effects, like network effects I think are is like the gold rush of our generation, right? So like everyone used to go to California to go pan for gold, and now they all went to California to go pan for like information data, right?
Right. Data, then
Uh,
crypto. Yep.
right, which is like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. Like all these places are like the value is like not charging you, like it's not charging the users. The value is collecting all the data on the users.
Mhm.
Right. And that's just like sort of an example. And I think like these network effects of like interacting with people. And so when you're able to like be sensitive and emotional and connect, you're able to play that like political interactions much better,
Like
as well as like network and interact with people and stuff. And that's hugely valuable. And then those people like the net people with networks are like gatekeepers essentially today.
I mean, the way that I would describe this is that the world has started to require us to be more sensitive to remain competitive or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you can't just like it doesn't matter if you're good at things. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And you don't get to know people unless you
It was kind of always like that, but maybe
know
it's
them.
more like that. Or like you need to really be doing a lot of things right.
But I think it's more decentralized, more diverse, and like the playing field is a lot bigger now.
Yes, I could believe that.
And
It does
so
feel like
that like the evolution would push towards I don't mean like genetic evolution, but like mimetic evolution would push towards um like actually doing the human thing, because that's the thing that we all have in common. We don't have our culture in common, like we don't have religion in common anymore.
right. Although I must say, religions tried to be the only religion, and in the process, they killed a bunch of other people in the name of unifying a society to one
Yeah.
religion. But like,
Yeah, they're trying to take the Schelling point, and that's
right.
some context that's very reasonable.
Well,
In some
it
context,
just seems like such a strange way, like such a strange way to organize society, because there are so many different religions and none of them were in this like multiplicity of religions. And in fact, we have more somehow. Is this uncanny question of like somehow, despite all of the religions telling us to be good people and do the right things, all of these religions also kind of start to disagree with each other, and the message hasn't worked. Like, or it's
I
worked a
100%
bit.
disagree.
It's
I
worked a
think the
bit,
message
but
has worked very
religions
well.
haven't solved the religion thing and like completed their task of unifying society.
Yeah, so I mean, science hasn't figured out all.
Right, but science knows that it has to iterate. Religions
Yeah,
sort of religions
yeah,
do develop, but it's not always built into religions that they are changing and developing.
yeah.
They kind of fixed the single book.
Yeah. I think this is a big problem with religion, is that it's the like some of them might be, but like I think some of the Eastern ones might have that dimension to it. But let's say in the West,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very much like we call it Eureka Sidoros in Judaism. It's like the
What?
descent of the generations.
Oh, cool.
And so like Moses got the Torah at Sinai, and the further back you go, the closer you are in Revelation, and the farther through history you go, the further you are.
Mm.
And so
But
there's no,
we just keep getting further away, kind of.
yeah, you can only lose knowledge, you can't gain it.
Mm.
And that's like in like, let's say these Abrahamic religions,
Yep.
or monotheistic, I don't know how you want to describe them. And like that's a real problem.
Well, it's a real problem if your religion has built into it, you can't change the book, which they often do.
Yeah, you don't want to really change the book, but you
Right.
do want to change,
The way that we read it, or the
like you want it to be a living experience or something.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the solution is, to be honest, to the religion problem.
No, and I don't think they do either, because we don't have
I don't think a lot of them
some of
even
these
know the
stable
problem.
religions.
Yeah.
We have, well, like many religions have taken a real hit when being encountering
Yeah.
the technology revolution.
Yeah. And I'm a fan of religion kind of now, but I think it's a good that they took this hit, because they weren't doing their job properly.
Right.
And so they should lose people, and they should lose power, and they should be coming back to the roots of like what is important, why are we here?
I mean, one way I think about this is the changing ways in which we access music and or entertainment. So once upon a time, entertainment was like stage drama was all you got, and then there was like
There's always people sitting around telling jokes,
or like musicians sitting around playing musical instruments. But in order for musicians to play musical instruments, you had to have standardization of musical instruments before people could get good at them. And so that only happened in the last couple of 100 years.
I don't think that's correct, because you can, like, just as someone who doesn't have really any formal music education, like I have a harmonica somewhere that I like mess around with.
Right.
If that harmonica was in a different scale, it would be the exact same thing to me, because I have no frame of reference for this.
Yes.
And so if somebody's doing that, like if you're doing like the flutes or whatever, or the strings, like you can gain an intimate understanding of your.
There's different branches of music. Like there's playing someone else's composed music, and there's like jamming your own, and then there is access to various types of notes or various types of harmonizations, which some instruments cannot get certain other notes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the trumpet is limited to your lung capacity and your how fast you can blow air through it.
Yeah. Trumpeters are
like pianos are limited by the number of keys they have on them.
Yeah, unless they're electric.
Well, even so, they're limited by a finite number of buttons.
Well, you can have like scroll menus and stuff. Like you have like virtual where it's like like there's a limit, but functionally it's not a limit you can reach.
Mm-hmm. Right. So history of music is that it used to be individual instruments, like someone could like drum or like play a banjo type instrument, and then it like got organized in orchestras, and then orchestras got organized into like smaller bands, and then smaller bands became like record players, and record players became radio, and then radio became like different bits of different ways of receiving entertainment became available as time progressed. And each of those like dominant form of media got its butt kicked by the new dominant form of media.
Yeah, video killed the radio star.
Yeah, that's right. And then like the internet has killed TV.
That was the first music video, I believe, on MTV.
Oh, really?
If I'm not I could be wrong about that. It could be just a rumor going around. I should actually look this up.
Huh. Right. So in the sense that you say that religions should get their butt kicked, I agree. In the same way that media got its butt kicked by other medias that came.
Correct. It was the very first music video shown on MTV was the Bugles. Video killed the radio star. Yeah, you're gonna get your ass kicked by the next generation, but that's good. Like the next generation should surpass
That's
you.
the new piece of innovation. There is a loss. Like something was lost in terms of appreciation of classical music when newer forms of music came in, but something was also gained with an entire new form of music.
Yeah, I mean, classical music has been, but no, I think classical music is still here. We just don't like let's say like the Lion King, right? Or like Star Wars, even, right? Like that stuff.
It's still there. Yeah, absolutely. It just sort of, I think of it as taking its place among the pantheon of possible forms of entertainment.
Yeah, it's like more like fades into, because we don't have the patience to sit through that, I think. So it's like you don't get those as much, but they're still there. Like they're still within our culture. Very much better. Wait, what was your general point? I feel like I was nitpicking you.
No. Just it was this that phenomena will be replaced by the newer versions that we discover.
Yeah, this is good. I hope to get surpassed in our development of psychotech
by newer and more novel forms of psychotech. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because but this is the thing. I think this is how you know, like, if you're in the right space or not. If people surpass you, are you happy because now you get to consume that content, or are you upset because you're not
on top anymore?
Yeah. And so for like the psychotech, it's like I'm happy to consume like better content. And if they had done that earlier, then I wouldn't have to be here on this podcast. I could listen to the podcast instead of being on it. Psychotechnologies live.